And that report was presented by Simon Gibbons, sitting on my left, we launched a press conference in Tuesday of last week, and we were given the opportunity to talk to the inter-ministerial group on drugs on Thursday to brief them on the contents of our novel psychoactive substances report and to make sure they understood our recommendations. So that was a very good opportunity because that group includes ministers from several government departments. And Simon will have more to say about the novel psychoactive substances report later. Before that, in October, Annette Dale Pereira and Richard Phillips, who are co-chairing our new recovery committee, were also able to speak to the interministerial group and to brief them on the progress made so far and to ask for some clarification on some issues. I've also been to Northern Ireland this summer to attend a meeting of the Northern Irish New Strategic Direction Steering Group, which is an advisory body for the Northern Ireland Parliament, equivalent to the ACMD here. I've also had regular meetings with the new head of Home Office Drug Strategy and their officials to make sure that the Home Office Drug Strategy Group is aware of the work that we're doing and to hear feedback from them about their priorities. We're now dealing with minutes and matters arising. These are closed papers, but ACMD members may wish to have a look in their book of papers. The previous actions list, I'm happy to say all previous actions have been completed except for the issue of naloxone, of the use of naloxone as a rescue medicine for heroin overdose. That is still pending, and we are seeking to draft a report on that. We now have a good deal of evidence on this, and we feel ready fairly soon to draft a report and submit it to ministers. There's council minutes for the previous ACMD meeting, also closed papers, but I would request that ACMD members take a careful look at these, and if there are any changes, typographical or otherwise, please forward these to the Secretariat, sitting on my right, William Reynolds. And I remind members again that they should revisit their declarations of interest and make sure that this listing is up to date on our website. There are a number of publications and reports which have been issued since the last meeting. There was advice on phenazepam, a very strange issue really. This is a benzodiazepine, belongs to the tranquilizer, sleeping pill, anxiolytic drug class, but not listed in this country on the Misuse of Drugs Act as all the others are, and not used in this country medically. It's a compound that was made originally in Soviet Russia and still apparently used there. But however, it has been appearing on the legal high sales websites and is available rather cheaply. And it's a very potent substance, and we felt it was sufficiently dangerous to be brought under the Misuse of Drugs Act, and also an action that has now been approved, although it won't be put into action until towards the end of this year. We've also issued advice to government on another series of compounds in the product, legal high product known as Ivory Wave, where we discovered last year that the active ingredient was an old drug called desoxypipridol, and we were sufficiently alarmed by the reports of serious adverse effects that were coming in from accident and emergency units in Scotland and in the south of England. People showing up with severe agitation, had to be physically restrained in some cases, along with psychotic paranoia, and the symptoms lasting for up to 3 or 4 days after a single dose. So clearly this was not a nice party drug, it was something much more dangerous. And we applied immediately for an open general import license, that is an import ban on this substance in October last year. This was accepted in early November. And at the same time we got busy to write a full report on this substance and some related chemicals, as we normally do nowadays. We pick out a particular drug and then we try to frame the legislation to cover various related substances. And that report is available on our website, it's been submitted and has been accepted and will be actioned in due course. The generic cover in this case proved to be quite prescient, as at least one other compound that was listed under our generic screen has since appeared as a drug on the streets in this country. I've also, to change the subject for a moment, I've written to the Minister of Public Health to voice our concerns about the funding for this program, National Program on Substance Abuse Deaths, which has been run by John Corkery, who is going to be here, or is here today, for several years. And the ACMD found this to be a very valuable data source of drug-related deaths, because John is able to cover not only the coroner's courts, the final verdicts, but also the earlier stages of the process when a death may be thought to be associated with a particular drug, and then later on the drug is not found to be present on the deceased body, and that eliminates some, and then there are further eliminations as the cases go through the coroner's court. For example, with methadone, you're probably aware of the story that there are 127 deaths in which methadone was thought possibly to be implicated. This has been whittled down to 42 confirmed cases by coroner's courts in which the drug has been named as a probable important causative factor, although you can never say that the drug caused death. This is an example, and John Corkery's programs produced numerous other examples where we've been able to get valuable data, but unfortunately the Department of Health funding for this program was withdrawn last year, or early this year rather, and we've pointed this out to the Minister that this is a valuable source, and we hope some means can be found of keeping this program going. Again, another subject. Sir David Omand, a retired senior civil servant, did a review of the working of the Advisory Council Misuse of Drugs and published a fairly extensive report, which is publicly available. I'm pleased to say that the report was very, very positive in its comments on the work of ACMD, and did have a number of specific recommendations, which I haven't got time to detail here, but we are acting on many or most of these. And the response that we have given to the Omand report is in the form of a letter, which is available, I think. Yes. Yes. We've also submitted the ACMD annual report for 2010-2011. That report is also available on the ACMD website. And we have taken note of one of Sir David Omand's recommendations, which was that the Advisory Council should take a longer look into the future and perhaps think about a 3-year working agenda where certain topics that we haven't got time to deal with now might be flagged up for future agenda items, and we are considering that, and we'll take action on that as soon as possible. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment, hand over to Professor Simon Gibbons, who chaired the Novel Psychoactive Substances Working Group and is responsible with his members for the report, which was launched last week. So Simon.
Thank you very much, Les. The ACMD's report, Consideration of the Novel Psychoactive Substances Legal Highs, was published last week, and Annette, Les and I were at the press conference last Tuesday to present this. The report was prepared in response to a ministerial request that we consider options for tackling these harmful substances. The issue of legal highs gained prominence with a well-publicised rise in the prevalence of methadone. Its appearance on the drug scene was rapid and widespread. The methadone story exemplifies the change we are witnessing in the drugs market and user behaviours. Our report includes data from the National Programme on Substance-Associated Deaths, in which methadone played a contributory factor. Of 127 deaths possibly associated with methadone use, 42 have so far been confirmed. We've received reports from accident and emergency units admitting people suffering from toxic effects of these novel psychoactive substances, which frequently paint a typical picture of amphetamine overdose, including severe agitation and psychosis, including paranoia. You'll no doubt be aware of the harms reported from Ivory Wave last year, where these symptoms could last for 3 to 4 days, and this is why we must address this issue. There's now a wide range of substances that are legally available on the internet or from head shops that promise a range of effects. Many are advertised with appealing branding. Some are advertised as plant food, pond cleaner, research chemicals, room odorizer, or even fish food. However, across the market, it's clear that the purpose for which these substances are sold is human consumption. The apparent entrepreneurial spirit of this new and expanding market has taken advantage of a thin veneer of legitimacy to legally market substances that have significant associated harms. The detection and identification of novel psychoactive substances requires sophisticated physicochemical techniques. Excellent progress has been made in this respect with the Home Office Forensic Early Warning Programme, and we'll be hearing a little bit more about this later on today. Test purchasing and forensic studies of legal highs have shown that the contents of products are highly variable, and the same brand's constituents may change from month to month. For example, the active ingredient in the product Ivory Wave has changed 3 times in the last 2 years. Consequently, users are often unaware of the product they are taking or whether they're actually in possession of a legal substance. Many of the substances found in legal highs are in fact illegal, and a recent forensic analysis conducted by the Serious Organised Crime Agency indicated that in a sample of legal highs, 19% of them contained a controlled substance, so 1 in 5 of the substances are actually illegal. These products are, of course, sold without any of the rigorous safety data that we would normally expect for new chemicals intended for human consumption. Apart from the acute adverse reactions reported by hospital accident and emergency units, the possibility of long-term adverse effects is very real, and users really are playing a game of Russian roulette. Legal highs present a particular challenge, since it's possible for those chemists who manufacture the compounds to make small tweaks to their chemistry to ensure they actually fall outside of the current legislation. The ACMD are clear that continuing to address the issue on a compound-by-compound basis will be challenging, and that a combination of options are necessary. We need to have mechanisms and strategy that are proactive and not reactive. When recommending that drugs be placed under the Misuse of Drugs Act, ACMD has sought to future-proof advice by the use of generic definitions. Now, these definitions capture new compounds that are similar in structure to a named drug, thereby preventing a law being easily circumvented. Nevertheless, ingenious chemists can usually find a way around such definitions. Within 3 months of the ban on methadone and related drugs, naphorone appeared on the market as a legal high that lay outside of our generic definition. One recommendation is that there could be an opportunity to revisit generic descriptions in the Misuse of Drugs Act and to update them without the need to present each case as a separate legal submission to Parliament. Another possibility would be to explore the use of legislation similar to that used by the United States in the Federal Analog Act 1986, which automatically bans any new drug that mimics existing illegal drugs in chemistry and pharmacology. The Polish government introduced a similar law in 2010, automatically banning new substances which mimic the effects of existing illegal drugs. The ACMD believes that such legislation should be further investigated and could work alongside the Misuse of Drugs Act, not as a replacement. This would serve to prevent manufacturers developing new and harmful compounds that avoid present legislation but are chemically and pharmacologically similar to presently controlled substances. To effectively